Morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, 24th, 2025 regular closed session meeting of the East Bay Mud Board of Directors. Please give us roll call, Madam Secretary.
Director Chan,
Present.
Director Gomez,
Here.
Director Katz, Director Lewis,
Here.
Director Odie,
I'm here.
Director Smith,
Present.
President Young.
Here. Okay, we will now move on to public comment. Are there any members of the public online who wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items? Use the raise your hand feature in Zoom.
We have no online public comment and no cards for
And
the
no
audience.
cards?
Correct.
Okay, well then, with that, we will convene our closed session in conference room 8 to discuss closed session agenda item 1, and we're scheduled to return for our regular meeting at 1:15. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 regular business meeting of the East Bay Mud Board of Directors. Will you please do roll call, Madam Secretary?
Director Chan,
Here.
Director Gomez,
Here.
Director Katz, Director Lewis,
Here.
Director Odie,
Present.
Director Smith,
Present.
President Young.
I'm here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no announcements from closed session. We will now move on to public comment. If there are members of the public online who wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. Comments on our non-agenda items will be heard now. Comments on agenda items will be heard when that item is up for consideration. Madam Secretary, do we have any people online for public comment?
None.
Okay. Then we will go, let me see, I don't think I have any cards for non-agenda items. So we will then move on to committee reports. The minutes for the June 10th Legislative HR Committee meetings are in the agenda materials. We'll now get an update from this morning's Sustainability Committee and the Finance and Administration Committee. Director Smith, give the Sustainability Committee report.
Certainly, we had a great feedback on our greenhouse gases and how we are keeping track of what it is we're putting out there. Looks like we're heading in a good direction, and several questions were answered, so it was good. We had feedback for issues to be considered for the next meeting in, I believe, October.
Okay, great. Director Lewis, do you have a report from the Finance and Administration?
Yes, we had a report this morning. We received the monthly investment transaction report. We are on point with regard to our plan, and our investments are very stable. We also received a report regarding private water service line repair plans, in particular a marketing partnership which would allow us to receive additional non-rate revenue and to support our CAP program. This would involve a private insurer to allow our water service folks to have private insurance for their line from the house to our line. In both instances, the committee accepted the report and recommends acceptance of the marketing partnership.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to consent calendar. I have 3 speaker cards for item 7 and 1 speaker card for item 10, so we will pull those from the calendar and hear them separately. Do I have are there any other items that board members would like to pull from consent?
I would like to make a statement about the meeting minutes and an item that was not included in the June 10th meeting minutes. And it's
Okay.
for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's right here.
So on May 30th, the board received an email that included an attachment of the Ninth Circuit Pierce and Bland recent court filings. The sender requested that the email and attachment be filed with the June 10th board meeting minutes. The requester alerted the secretary's office that the email and attachment were not filed with the June 10th meeting minutes, which was an oversight of our office. The email and attachment will be filed with today's regular meeting minutes. So unless the board members have comments or revisions, the June 10th meeting minutes as written are ready for consideration.
Okay, so those can still be included in the consent calendar unless there are questions from the board? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve items 1 through 6, 8 and 9, and 11?
So moved.
Second.
I think it's Director Gomez first there. Motion by Director Katz, seconded by Director Gomez. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously. We'll now take item 7. I have 3 speakers. Do we want to, who's the staff person for that item?
I think it's, my understanding is Civicor just wants to speak on this item, so if you call up the speakers in order, I think. that should
Okay.
be fine.
I have Brian Hickey, and then Terrell Johnson Jr., and then Yvette Arroyo Albornoz. I think I messed that one up, but you'll correct us when you come up, okay?
Hopefully this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
But,
Yes. Your name, who you're with, and
Hi, I'm Brian Hickey. I'm with Civicor. I'm the CFO, COO of Civicor. And good afternoon, directors and General Manager Chan and President Young. I just want to thank East Bay MUD for our continued partnership and support. East Bay MUD is one of our longest standing partners, been doing business with you pretty much since we were founded in 1983. I think we've been doing business with you since like 85. So pretty impressive, a great partnership, and it really makes it possible for us to provide the services to our core members that we provide. We're also proud to contribute to your mission in protecting public health and the environment. Our core members gain hands-on experience that not only supports their growth, but also serves to protect our community by mitigating wildfire danger. So thanks again. We truly value our partnership. Hopefully we do this for another 40 years, and thanks again.
thank you. Terrell? And you have 3 minutes, Terrell, after you introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, President Young, General Manager Chan, and board members. My name is Terrell Johnson. I'm currently a crew leader at Civicor. Working with East Bay MUD Maintenance is an amazing learning experience. Having the opportunity to work and showcase our talents gives us the opportunity to build the confidence needed to prepare for the workforce. I appreciate not only learning valuable hard skills, but also gaining a deeper understanding of our local watershed and the role we play in protecting them. Your support makes these experiences possible. Thank you for believing in us, investing in our growth, and helping us shape a pathway toward a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Yvette? And Yvette, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Young, General Manager Chan, and board members. My name is Yvette Arroyo Albornoz. I am the Director of Core Member Programs at Civicor. I'd like to take this opportunity to express my deepest appreciation to East Bay MUD's ongoing partnership, support, and commitment to working with our young adults and our training program. The leadership and investment has been both instrumental in creating meaningful opportunities for growth, learning, and a long-term impact in the lives of the young adults we serve. For example, the development of the Special Employment Program trainee positions with EBMUD gives our young adults the opportunity to get on-the-job training and exposure to working with EBMUD. Your belief in our mission, our belief in your mission, and in the potential in every young person we engage with has made a tangible difference. It's through your partnership that we're able to build not just skills, but confidence, purpose, and brighter futures. So thank you for standing with us and championing the value of this work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your work and long-term service with EBMUD. It makes a difference for us every day, so thank you very much. With that, unless there are other board member comments, Jim and Joey?
Oh, I was going to move approval of the item.
Go ahead.
People want to have
You can move.
discussion. Subject to that, move
You can still
approval of the
move it.
item. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Joey?
In my time of working out in the field, 13 years in the plumber series, I've had the very privileged benefit of working with several of our City Corps young people who came through our SEP. A few of them I even mentored, and it bubbles my heart and makes me really, really proud that we have managed to keep this collaboration. And I look forward to it continuing. So it's touching to see the changes in their lives and the opportunities that they take advantage of.
Thank you. So moved by Director Odie, seconded by Director Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Moves unanimously. Thank you very much, and I hope we do have another, well, we're going to be around for 100 years, so we're gonna be around or longer, so.
I won't be.
Okay, and then we have next, item 10 on concrete saw cutting contract. I think I have Tony Martin. Do we want to have a staff presentation first? Tony, come on up. You know the drill, 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. President Young, board members, general manager. Item number 10 concerning contracting out. And first of all, I'd like to say our local, well, Tony Martin, Local 444, first vice president. Our local and our department, we've been working fairly well together with our manager in that department. And we have been, I won't say a fight, I don't mean it that way. It's been pretty fruitful, let's put it that way. And we really object to contracting out only because it was brought to our attention that they wanted to hire 2 utility laborers on a long term. Our goal is to hire permanent employees because in pipeline, this is going to be a continuous thing no matter what. We want to plant the seed and have people there who knows what's going on. We don't want to have to go through the process of constantly having somebody for a year, then they're gone. And then you got to wait, then you got to get somebody else a year, then you got to go through this process of educating these employees. No matter what, as you stated, the water company is going to keep going. We're going to be here, we're going to retire, we're going to leave, we're going to pursue our lives elsewhere. I look at EBMUD as a world-class water company. I would encourage the board to not have long-term employees, have permanent employees. Now, let me remind you, we get to a certain stage in our life, God willing, we retire, hopefully in great health. But there's somebody that needs to be behind us that has been here and know the routine and have great ideas to make this much more than a world-class water company. 444 would like to encourage you, the board, to not have long-term but permanent employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Clifford, could you speak to how Tony's comments relate to this item?
Sure. I think when Tony was saying long-term, he probably meant limited term, which is a term that we use, the LT. Is that correct, Tony?
That is correct.
Yes. And so back in, it's all in the BD1, but back in fiscal year 2021, we did hire 2 LT paving rakers to see if we could do this work in-house. Those in fiscal year '24 were converted to permanent positions. We had this discussion at the 2 weeks ago when we talked about the budget. We do have 2 limited-term utility laborers that we're going to bring on in not fiscal year '26, but in fiscal year '27 when the mileage increases, to also look at, see if utility laborers can also support the concrete saw cutting. I will note that this contract is really to support peak work. I'll also note that the dollar amount that we're asking for, which is $1.3 million, is less than what we've asked for in the past 5 fiscal years. So while I understand what Tony is saying, we will always have a need to support peak and seasonal workload because we don't staff to those levels.
Okay, thank you. Any other- If it's very brief, you had like 20 seconds left on your clock.
Okay, I would like to, I hear the word peak load all the time. If you think about it, peak load is every day. Every day. So if, not when it's summer, the sun is out, it's every day. And yes, they would assist the person saw cutting for pipeline. Pipeline's gonna grow, you have to cut your asphalt, you have to cut the concrete. They have to assist them, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you have any additional comments or questions for staff? Have a motion?
I move. I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? None. Okay, that does pass unanimously.
So that was Director Gomez and Director Chan?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Moved by Director Gomez, seconded by Director Chan. We will now move on to determination and discussion. General Manager Chan will introduce each item. And first up is item 12.
Yes, so the first item is a report on the status of the investigations related to the claims made by Tiffany Conway. I believe, President Young, that you...
Yeah, we will hear the item first and take public comment following.
Yes.
Okay, actually, let me open my. So we are, as everyone is aware, we are here on item 12 to receive reports on the status of investigations arising from the Tiffany Conway complaint against Director April Chan. I will provide the report for item 12.2 and interim, 12.1, I'm sorry, and interim president, Vice President Gomez will provide the report for item 12.2. As public servants entrusted with the community's confidence, it is our responsibility to lead with integrity and to uphold the highest standards of conduct. It's especially important that we approach our work with transparency, fairness, and respect for all individuals involved. At prior board meetings, there's been discussion about the investigation regarding allegations of workplace violence made by artist Tiffany Conway against board member April Chan. These allegations are in regard to an incident which occurred on March 27th here at the administration building between the two parties. Ms. Conway perceived the interaction as disrespectful, racially motivated, and threatening. Director Chan independently reported feeling threatened by Ms. Conway's reaction, remarks, and physical behavior. To ensure the full board and the public are informed, I'm providing this update on the issue. A workplace violence investigation was initiated on April 4th, 2025, as is required by district protocols and state law. This investigation was completed, and that report is now available and is included in the agenda items. After review of video footage and interviews with the parties and witnesses, the investigation determined that Director Chan instigated the incident with her questions of Ms. Conway's use of a board member parking space and statements about contacting security. The investigation also found that at times, Director Chan engaged and argued with Ms. Conway and did not de-escalate the incident. However, it was determined that Director Chan's behavior did not reach a level which constitutes threats of violence or workplace violence, as determined by the California Labor Code 6401.9 or RSP 6000. The investigation found that Ms. Conway's conduct did meet the definition of threat of violence, as defined by the California Labor Code 6401.9 or RSP 6000. This determination was primarily made based on the portion of the incident that occurred within the elevator where Ms. Conway remained in the doorway, preventing the elevator from leaving and providing no physical outlet for Director Chan. There's no video available of the interaction that occurred in the parking lot. This behavior appears to be contained to this incident, and the investigation concluded that there is no evidence that Ms. Conway will pose a further threat to Director Chan. While the workplace violence investigation has been completed, a separate equal employment opportunity or EEO investigation into the conduct complained of by Ms. Conway is ongoing and is being conducted by an independent outside investigator. The investigator has been asked to determine whether district anti-discrimination policies were violated and whether Director Chan's conduct was inconsistent with the board's principles of conduct as described in our ethics policy and our governance manual. During the course of the EEO investigation, I became aware of several other incidents between Director Chan and staff. Some of these incidents were reported prior to the incident between Director Chan and Ms. Conway. These interactions could have a nexus to the conduct complained of by Ms. Conway, and I understand the investigator has interviewed those individuals. The investigator has invited Director Chan and is awaiting her response. We anticipate that report will be completed mid to late August. I would like to reaffirm the board's commitment to transparency, accountability, and to fostering a safe and inclusive environment for all board members, staff, and the public that we serve. We also recognize the importance of protecting the dignity and privacy of all individuals involved while this process continues. And I want to turn it over to Director Luz Gomez for item 12 point, I guess, well, we could, do I have discretion of whether to go ahead with that report and then open for public comment?
I guess you do, yeah.
Okay, so Director Gomez.
Thank you. So this is a report on the status of the complaint made by Director April Chan against President Marguerite Young. On May 22nd, Director Chan submitted a formal complaint against Director Young, alleging that the investigation against her is motivated by anti-Asian bias and is in retaliation for her being a whistleblower. That complaint has been referred to me as acting vice president as pursuant to the board ethics policy. I have been in communication with Director Chan and with President Young regarding the complaint and what I feel would be best approach to address the complaint. I will provide an update to the board after I have heard more details from the parties and regarding any agreement that both members may have made.
Those are the reports. We now have speaker cards.
And I do have comments I would like to make as well.
Okay, I think we'll take the public comments and then we'll open it up for board member comments. I do not Oh, actually, I only have one. I had other cards, I thought.
You should have 2 for 12
Yeah.
and 1 for 13. So Tuan, no.
They seem to have, they seem to have disappeared. Hang on. Ah, there they are. Okay, got them. I have, yeah. 2 for 12 and 1 for 13. Okay, first up, I have Tuan Ngo. Apologies if I've mispronounced your last name.
Hi, my name is Tuan No. I'm with Asians Unite, Coalition for Community Engagement, a number of organizations. But mostly I'm here on behalf of myself as a private citizen who is normally doing science, cancer biology, and HIV research. And I got involved in local government because we really need to have integrity in our leadership in a local government. And what I see here, unfortunately, is eroding public trust because you punitively acted without the facts prematurely. April stepped back. She de-escalated by walking away from a situation that escalated unexpectedly. She was merely asking about a parking spot. It wasn't, it turned out to be some kind of road rage as far as I can tell, where one person says, well, she disrespected me by walking away. Well, she was de-escalating. And her response was, I'm a sensitive artist, and I'm so upset, I can't hear what the other person is saying, that you disrespect me. I'm not responsible for my actions. And for what you've done to me, that I've been wronged, I'm going to yell at you, I'm gonna follow you, I'm gonna take my camera out and take pictures and videotape you, and I'm gonna just corner you in the middle of a empty parking lot in an elevator where you're trapped. That really deserves looking closely, and we really needed the facts before we act in a punitive manner. And there was overwhelming public outcry for due process to have the facts come out. And the actions of the board, to me, as a science person, is really disappointing because we always act with integrity to forward the field and to better everybody. And that, I think, we fell short there, and we could do better. So, unfortunately, this process is eroding public trust. And the public, the most involved, educated community members are paying attention. I know from just being new to the whole political scene and getting involved to fix our broken system, that at least several mayors are paying attention to this. The council members are paying attention. And what are you doing when you look at this investigation? And Director Young, you have the report before the vote. It shows April was a victim of threat and violence. You failed to protect her. You failed to disclose this relevant, significant material information to the rest of the board before the vote. And the email, public information record that went out, it was extremely biased. And it's the epitome of misconduct. And to have a shifting investigation with shifting narratives, you just dig the hole a little bit deeper.
Tuan, no, your time is up. If you could wrap up your comments.
Well, I think you could all do better, and you should protect somebody who is a victim of violence.
Thank you, sir. I have, next I have Kat Wellman.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Kat Wellman, and I'm here not only as a concerned constituent, but also as the appointed alternate for April Chan should she be unable to serve. As someone who may be called to serve on this board in her place, I am actually deeply troubled by how this situation has been handled and how badly April has been treated. I'm even more troubled by the fact that there's been little to no recognition that April has been unfairly disparaged, and her reputation was put on the line before there was any verification of the allegations that were being made against her. So how was this done? Well, instead of having a confidential investigation, the allegations were placed on the board's public agenda, where the complaining party was allowed to tell you her allegations without hearing the other side. This board was then asked to, quote unquote, temporarily remove April as board VP and take her off of all of her committees she served on without ever hearing her side of the story. After that meeting, it's my understanding that a memo was sent to all EBMUD employees informing them of the allegations against April, again without hearing her side, potentially leading to bias and creating a potential hostile work environment against her. And even today, the report that's being made appears to be extremely slanted against April by pointing out that the EEOC is doing an investigation. Well, guess what? When someone makes an investigation with EEOC, they absolutely have to investigate it. It doesn't mean that they're going to find that there's any verification of those allegations. I'm very deeply concerned that the way this has been handled has been not the way that I would want to be treated if I was on this board and someone made allegations against me. And I'm assuming that every board member up here would want to be treated fairly and with dignity, as you said, and privacy before such allegations are made to look like they are the truth. And if you look at the security report, which I had the benefit of reading, you will see that there may have been very good reasons for April to feel threatened and that she was not the one that was in the wrong. But somehow it's not even being perceived that way, even though you have the report. I hope that in the future you can take this into consideration. April should be given back her title as vice president. It shouldn't have been taken away from her in the first place. And I hope this board can do better because you have a lot more important things to concentrate on as you go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is simply an information item. However, Director Chan, you indicated an interest in speaking. I also plan to say something.
I just never want to pass up an opportunity to thank people who have been supportive. I have a very brief statement, and then I have some comments about what's been said here today. I want to thank my constituent supporters and our professional security personnel. Your belief in fairness have helped guide me through a difficult moment. Now that the independent EBMUD security report is public, the facts confirm what I always knew. I was not the aggressor. I was subjected to threats of violence. I believe in transparency and erring on the side of professional integrity. That is why I voluntarily stepped back from public duties during the investigation into the March 27th incident. The residents of Ward 7 didn't elect me to be silent. They elected me to serve. The incident itself was brief and mischaracterized, but the reaction around it grew far beyond its actual significance. What could have been a quieter resolution grew far beyond its actual significance. This situation unnecessarily became a storm. I have no interest in prolonging distractions or further divisions. That said, I am hopeful but skeptical that the remaining investigations will proceed with integrity. I hope that they will be honest investigations. We are all human, and public service is never without its challenges. What defines us is how we respond, hopefully with integrity and honesty, and never forgetting the people we serve. My focus remains on protecting taxpayer dollars, advancing environmental responsibility, and ensuring our district continues to provide some of the best water in the country. Let's return to the work that truly matters as quickly as possible. I do want to add a couple of things. To say, number one, I really do appreciate the security report. I don't agree with everything that's in there, but, I think that overall, it's a really good report, and I think it sometimes takes courage to tell the truth. And I think in this case, they told the truth. I did not instigate the event. If you look at the definition of instigation, it means I purposely put it in motion. What I did was I initiated contact with the woman. I never asked her to move her car. I never asked her to do anything. And I would hope that people would look at this look at this from the lens of someone who is faced with violence, not from anything else. But that is what I was confronted with. So I want to say that. And the second thing I wanted to say is that Director Gomez gave a report of my complaint against Director Young. But also what is in there is that I really do believe Director Young should step aside. And she should not be in charge of my investigation. She has refused to step aside. So that is in the report. I think it lacks integrity that she refuses to step aside. And and thank you so much for the people that came and spoke on my behalf. And really, all of you and my constituents really have been a rock for me. Thank you.
We have one hand online for public comment. Do you wanna
I'd
take
like
it?
to make my statement before
Okay.
that public comment gets made. I want to acknowledge the formal complaint filed recently against me by Director Chan. The allegations contained in this complaint are serious and do require careful, measured attention. Our procedures dictate Director Gomez, in her capacity as interim vice president, must address that complaint. And I'm happy to address all aspects of the complaint and will cooperate fully with whatever approach Director Gomez deems appropriate. All of it was recorded in public. This is an extremely difficult and painful situation for everyone involved, especially because all of us in this organization care deeply about our district and the integrity of our processes. I recognize the emotional and professional toll that this has taken on my fellow board members, our staff, and the public who look to us for leadership, grounded in the values of stewardship, integrity, respect, and teamwork. As president of the board, I do want to assure all parties that we are proceeding with appropriate due diligence. I am not in charge of the investigation. I'm the president of the board. An investigation is independent. It's been independent. I didn't hire the investigator, and I'm not running the investigation at all. Our responsibility is to make sure that all complaints, including this one, are investigated thoroughly and fairly in accordance with district policies and applicable ethics and equal employment opportunity standards. Director Gomez has asked me if I would consider mediation to address this complaint, and I have fully agreed to do so without condition. Mediation is an opportunity to listen carefully, to acknowledge any harm, and to work toward solutions that rebuild trust and restore collaborative working relationships. All of us are here for at least another year and a half. We need to work together to do the work of the district. At this time, my role is to preserve the integrity of the process while ensuring that decisions made by this board remain transparent, lawful, and respectful to all. Every one of us deserves to have our voice heard, our rights protected, our concerns handled with fairness, and that is my commitment to you. If you, as board members, in your capacity, believe that I should remove myself from the current responsibilities I have, I am happy to take your vote to do that. I'm just trying to do the right thing.
I just need to clarify one thing. That there are two investigations right now. There's the one that we're talking about two investigations. I just need to be
for people to be clear. One of them is the original investigation that started against me, and that Director Young is, I believe, has a large footprint into this investigation based on emails and conversations I've had. And that is what I think that she needs to step down from. Fairness dictates that when a complaint is filed, like mine, that she would recuse herself from the process. And I am shocked that she did not recuse herself from my investigation. So the second one is the one that Director Luz is in charge of. And I'm not talking about that one at all. But I am talking about the investigation that Tiffany Conway started against me. So I just want that to be clear because it could be confusing. And I would really appreciate, I don't think we even need to take a vote, Director Young. If you would just recuse yourself from the investigation that involves me, I think that's highly appropriate. We don't need to vote on that. That is about your personal integrity.
I have nothing to do with the process of the investigation. The next step is that that investigation will be concluded when all parties, including yourself, have been interviewed, and any parties you suggest be interviewed. The investigator will prepare findings and a report that will be submitted to this board for consideration. That is the next step. I don't know when it's going to conclude. The best estimate is sometime in August.
Yeah.
And that has little to do with, sir, you do not have the ability to speak right now. This investigation is awaiting one interview right now. One. The second thing I would say is that there has always been only one investigator hired with a charge to investigate the EEO complaint and the issues of conduct related to our governance policy. That has, I will say, extended to members of our staff who have provided information, as I understand it. So that, and
I have to say,
that was made at the April 8th meeting.
I remain disappointed, but not surprised, that there really has been no acknowledgement of what happened to me in that basement. That Director Young sits there and she focuses on misconduct, when in fact that was, I felt a violent situation. And there has been no indication of any understanding of that. There has been no focus. It's just glossed over like it doesn't matter. So I really think that is the place that you come from. You're very focused on misconduct and what you think I did wrong and wanting to punish me. And that is why I think you need to step aside. And I really do believe you're involved in this investigation based on things that you have, based on conversations I have had. So that was a lot. I never intended to say this much, but I felt that this was important.
As I said, I'm happy to take direct, this is an information item, so I don't know that we can take action, but should anyone wish to either calendar Derek, I don't know what our options are. There's no vote on this, this is simply an information item. So if someone would like to, we always have a calendar agenda items for future consideration. If Director Chan would like to calendar this item for future consideration, she's welcome to do so.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't even feel like this is something that should be calendared and voted on. I just think that this is normal practice, maybe even state law, maybe even EBMUD policy, that if there is a complaint, that my complaint really should have triggered you stepping down voluntarily. And maybe that's something that the attorney needs to look into, but I find it highly irregular that we should have to vote on it. It should be a normal practice.
The president of the board is in charge of dispatching issues related to the conduct of board members and to our ethics policy. It is as clear as day in the governance manual that all but one of our board members signed when it was adopted. And I am acting within my duty as president. And if our general counsel would like to, opine to the contrary, my understanding is that recusal has to do with conflicts of interest,
Yes, I mean,
specifically financial conflicts of interest. But please.
I mean, there's no financial conflict of interest here. In terms of the ethics policy, you are charged with the ethics policy of the investigation. There is an allegation that you are biased and should step aside. That allegation is currently under investigation, but it hasn't been substantiated yet. And so there's really no basis under our policies for you to recuse yourself automatically. I hope that's clear.
Well, if that's the case, then, maybe that question of the investigation against Director Young, maybe that matter needs to be settled faster. Because this is,
Director Gomez, you're
So
in charge of that.
my hope has always been that this complaint could be handled through a mediative process. There have been times in our conversations when that has been mutually agreed and times when it has not. And we're still in the process of figuring out whether it will be mutually agreed to go to a mediative process. That is my hope, and I believe that would be the most expeditious way to handle that complaint. And in the benefit of the district and the board and the best interest of our community as well. I remain open to the possibility that that will still happen. And it'll happen as expeditiously as possible. If either party were to decide not to pursue that avenue of a mediated conversation, then we would have to go to an independent third-party investigator to proceed with interviews and the rest of the process that would be time-consuming and costly for us and for the ratepayers.
well, I think that ADR is always the preferred solution, and that, if we can get there, then that's what we should do.
Okay, let's pull our calendars.
So I propose that we, there's one pending question that you had after our last conversation. I will get back to you with information about that last question that you had. And my hope is that after that conversation, we could agendize and go forth with choosing a mediator, if that's agreeable to both parties.
Yeah, I do think that this has to be fair.
Director Lewis?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the update and for the information. I just want to remind people that as a board member, we're kind of the last resort as elected persons. If people have complaints, they come to the board, and we don't really have any choice but to hear them. That would be the case if it was you or me or anyone else. We really don't, or we shouldn't have any choice but to hear a complaint if someone brings it. I'm unclear as to why the fact the board undertook to investigate a complaint by a citizen is somehow suddenly biased. I'm also concerned that there seems to be a breakdown in trust among the board, that we as elected people, and I've worked with these people, all good people, that people don't count on us to do the right thing. We did that here. The investigation took place with regard to the security report. The report was given. There are 2 other investigations. Trust the board to have some kind of common sense and integrity and for this process to take place. I personally would like to spend my time taking care of water, making sure it's supplied to my constituents and to all constituents of East Bay MUD. I certainly don't enjoy this, but I'll do it because it's my job. But I have to say, I don't think it's really what our constituents were most interested in. I ultimately believe, until it is shown otherwise, that this board, East Bay MUD directors, will be fair, and we have to be transparent. Would I have liked this initially to have just been handled or de-escalated, or not to have been so public? Of course, but we got to do our job. I'd like to do my job and move forward doing my job. Oh, and one clarification, we did not kick Director Chan off any committees. The question was whether there would be a resignation as chair. I just wanted to make that clarification. There are just a lot of comments that are thrown out there that are not true, that are not accurate. And we're trying to go step by step to make sure that the facts are looked at and things that are said are that we make sure that they're true or they're accurate. And all of this innuendo and vitriol doesn't help anybody.
Do we still have a number, or Jim, do you have?
I just had a question. Well, first of all, I appreciate Director Lewis's comments. Yeah, I mean, if you go back and look, maybe there's some misinformation out there. There was a voluntarily stepping aside from the vice president. There was nothing forced. There was no vote taken. There was not any removal. And in fact, there was a suggestion of a removal of a committee chair, and that vote failed for lack of a second. So if there's some misconception out there that there was any attempt by this board, or at least 5 or 6 of us, or a majority, to remove anyone as a chair, that's not true. So then the other thing I heard from the public comment was that there should be due process and someone should have an opportunity to tell their story. So I guess my question is to the president, who is the person we're waiting on these investigations to wrap up?
My understanding is that Director Chan is the only person that remains to be interviewed.
So what confuses me is that if I've spent 4 months telling people I want my side of the story come out, when my side of the story comes out, I'll be vindicated. And when I hear people in the public comments saying we need to give the accused person, the accused director, an opportunity to tell her side of the story, I mean, this is my perspective. As my perspective, I want to be the first one in line to tell my story to the investigator. So I hope that that can happen so we can get the final result and we can make a judgment based on the final result and not based on anything else, because we're all just waiting on that before we come to any conclusions. I'll speak for myself, and I trust my colleagues are also just waiting on that until we come to a conclusion, So I hope, let me finish.
Okay.
So I hope that we can get this wrapped up. I was disappointed, now it's going to push until August. Because like Director Lewis said, we're here to worry about water. We're here to worry about the environment. We're here to worry about our rates. We're here to worry about our customers. We're here to worry about prepping for the next drought. There's a whole slew of things we have to worry about. And to sit here and listen to complaints and cross complaints, it just isn't, it's not pretty.
And I have a comment for that. And I guess violence is against one of your colleagues is not anything that you're concerned about, and that's fine.
Well, wait a second.
I mean,
Don't
well,
accuse
wait
me
a
of,
second,
no,
wait a
you're putting
second.
words
It's
in my
my-
mouth, and you got to
it's-
not do that,
it
because you've
is-
been doing
it-
that a lot
It is,
lately.
it is my
I
turn.
did not say that.
It is
I
my
did not
turn.
say that.
It is my turn to
I
talk
did not
right
say
now.
that, so you need to take that back.
It is my turn to talk
You
right
need
now.
to take that back, because I
No-
did not say that.
Jim, just.
So anyway, what I would like to say is that in the weeks when this has been happening, I have actually emailed lots of concerns about the way that this is going forward, lots of concerns about the process. And, probably up until recently, they've just been summarily ignored. I mean, some of the things that I have brought up that I find deeply concerning has not been discussed. And so that is one of the things that I've been waiting on, because I honestly thought that at some point we were going to be able to discuss some of my concerns. So anyway, but at this point, we have scheduled the last interview, And so that, I'm hoping that that happens very quickly. I think it will happen very quickly. But I just think that one of the things that is, I have an attorney, Jim. I mean, the attorney directs me as far as what to do. And I know no one has ever come to me and said, hey, April, what is the timeline for this? When do you think that we can finish the investigations? And everybody has always assumed a certain timeline without speaking to my attorney. So I'm getting, we have something on the calendar. And the security investigation was done, and summarily, I guess, people took it for what it's worth.
Did you want to?
No, I just appreciate, next time when I say something, not to put words in my mouth, Director Chan, then you can refer me as not by my first name next time, and I appreciate the fact that we are getting closer to this being concluded. But when I hear the public say you haven't had an opportunity to tell your story, I want to hear your side of the story. So the sooner we can get this resolved, the better. Because like everyone else here, we all have an open mind.
Director Lewis.
Yeah, I want to deal with this up front too, this issue about vice president of the board, et cetera, due process. It's not up, it's up to the board to decide who their leadership is. And a lot has gone on and happened, but, we're all adults in here, and at the end of the day, this is about relationships, integrity, ability to work together. And if you take steps to make that, or to suggest that's probably not the best position at that time, then that's up to the board to decide. And that's something each and every one of us has to deal with, and relationships with colleagues and the public and judgment. So no, I want people to understand that it's not a due process issue. It's not a silencing issue. It's an issue of how do we work together and get things done? And if relationships are such that people don't believe the board can work together, then they may not be appropriate for a leadership position. And I'm making that statement, so if somebody wants to now say that I'm being partial, I disagree with that too. But I do feel like that after, many, many years working in many, many organizations, public, private, community, that people need to be cognizant of working with their colleagues, what they say, how they say things, and the fact that when we came on this board, we understood that there were certain processes. I will tell you, Director Chan, it has been my biggest concern from day one why this had to be so public. But it had to be, and we tried to go through the process. And I am just disappointed that people are being dragged publicly through the mud and accusations when all they're trying to do is their job. And I am disappointed that you don't feel that you can count on your colleagues to ultimately ensure transparency and fairness, and that we're going to look at the facts for what they are.
I think that concludes this item.
We have
Was there a
one-
public, oh, there's
we
still,
do.
I had thought that person was,
No, we still have one hand for
Okay.
public comment. You ready?
take that public comment.
Okay. Yvette Rivera, you should be able to unmute your mic,
Wow.
and your 3 minutes start now.
Well, the biggest laugh I just got was Valerie Lewis saying a comment about trusting the board. Valerie Lewis may have worked at many, many, many agencies and for many, many, many years, but she has only been at EBMUD for a very, very, very short time.
Excuse me.
I am
Public
talking.
comment is not for personal assault.
I am talking. I am talking, and I want my time back.
You can
I
have your
want my
time back as
back.
long as you do not engage in personal
I
attacks.
will finish my comments, and I
I'm
want my
fine.
time
I'm
back.
good. Let her
Bring the time back on the clock, please, and then I'll
Okay,
start again.
Hang on a moment. Please stop the clock. General Counsel, I want to, advise the speaker whether,
I mean, she does have the right to speak on matters of public concern in the manner that she chooses, as long as it's not disruptive. The law doesn't specifically prohibit ad hominem attacks or personal attacks. She is an employee, so I would caution that those comments should be related to matters of public concern.
And I believe she's trying to suggest that my being on the board between January and now may be such that I am not aware of some of the things that she wants to bring to light. And I'm, you know what, my skin ain't that thin. So
okay, yeah,
she can
go ahead,
continue.
Ms. Rivera, put her time back on the clock.
I put time back on the clock, and there you go.
Thank you very much. So, I have been at the district for 20 years. Even though I am an employee, I am speaking on my own time as a ratepayer and a member of the public. I got the investigation documents and the video of the April Chan and Miss Conway incident. And if this board is telling the public that they're going to look at this report in a objective fashion, then they should have someone write the report in an objective manner. To say that Miss April Chan instigated anything implies that she was an aggressor. It's my experience and others at the district that investigations are weaponized against employees and people who speak out. So many months ago, I told Director Coleman, welcome to the Retaliation Club. So now I'm going to tell Ms. Chan, welcome. And people who speak out.
Sorry, it automatically goes on the thing. Go ahead.
I want my time back. So when I hear trust the board, well, you know what? The public should not trust the board of directors at East Bay MUD. Because the public allows this East Bay MUD to do what they want, there's a trial that ended not that many months ago that resulted in a jury decision of $10 million against East Bay MUD and Craig Spencer. And to Mr. Odie, I am kind of sick and tired of hearing you talk to Miss April Chan the way you do. She brought up the matter of violence in the workplace. Where is the restraining order against Miss Conway? There are employees, there was a white man in December that had a restraining order placed against him by the district. Is there a reason why a Black woman cannot have a restraining order against her after a report comes out that says, indeed, there was a violation of the violence in the workplace? I'm going to end my comments just by saying Marguerite is the one who should be stepping down. Marguerite Young should be stepping down, not only from investigations, but from being president of the board, because I don't appreciate her interrupting me while I'm making public comments.
Ms. Rivera, your time is concluded and you've been allowed 30 extra
Thank
seconds.
you.
Can you please wrap up?
I yield.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have to say. I yield.
Well, just to correct the record, there has been no restraining order issued against the individual referenced by Ms. Rivera, so.
We have no additional public comment online and no additional public comment in the room.
Okay, we will now move on to agenda item number 13. And we do have a public comment. Do you wish to go prior to the general manager's report or after? Okay.
Thank you, President Young. So I just have one item in the general manager's report. and this is related to the Mercury News article dated June 18th, 2025. So last week, the Mercury News published an article that contains statements regarding EBMUD's financial practices and the San Leandro soil importation project. Several board members asked me to provide additional information about these two issues. First, with respect to our finances, the article included a statement from Director Chan referring to questionable financial practices, including large-scale funds being spent without board approval. This, I believe, is related to concerns that Director Chan raised in 2023 related to transfers of appropriations between capital projects. This issue was discussed with the board at the September 12th, 2023 board meeting. I do want to start by saying that all spending on capital projects and transfer of funds between projects is authorized by the board, including the instances raised in 2023. At the September 12th, 2023 board meeting, we shared with the board the process in which our capital program and funding for capital projects are developed and managed, starting with an infrastructure workshop in the fall of the second year of our two-year budget cycle, followed by multiple board budget workshops, and then board approval of the budget, which includes a detailed summary of our capital projects and projected spending that the board also approves. All spending in the budget is within board-approved limits, including capital, operating, and debt service costs. Furthermore, all contracts above $80,000 or $100,000, depending on the type of contract, are individually considered and approved by the board. For contracts under those amounts, the board has authorized me, as the general manager, to approve those contracts. When the board approves our biennial budget, as was done in 2023 and 2 weeks ago on June 10th, they also approve a resolution which authorizes staff to transfer unspent capital funds appropriated for specific projects between district projects as needed, as long as the overall capital budget remains unchanged. In 2023, we discussed the large fund transfer totaling $279 million. This transfer was within the authority granted to staff by the board, and there was no increase in the total capital spending. As was shared with the board in September of 2023, the funds were moved to keep high-priority projects on track without seeking additional appropriations from the board. In this instance, the transfers were made to fund the Upper San Leandro Water Treatment Plant project, a project that was approved by the board. During the discussion with the board in September 2023, the board asked for more visibility into the transfers of appropriations. For years, transfers over $2.5 million have been reported in detail to me as the general manager. The board in September 2023 asked for a summary of those transfers. Based on the board's direction, individual appropriations over $2.5 million and transfers under $2.5 million, which are reported in aggregate, have been included in the general manager's monthly report since September 2023. In addition, as part of the fiscal years 2026 and 2027 budget, to further increase visibility for the board asked for a quarterly report on all transfers. These reports will be sent to the board starting in fiscal year 2026, which begins on July 1st. Next, I want to provide additional background on the soil importation project, which we have referred to as the Quarry Project. As part of our pipeline rebuild program, we have been increasing the miles of pipe we replace from less than 5 miles in 2010 to 25 miles today. Our replacement goal in 2026 is 25 miles, and the goal increases to 27.5 miles in 2027. As the pipeline replacement program has grown, it has become increasingly challenging to dispose of the excavated soils. Each year, we generate approximately 50,000 cubic yards of excavated soils. In 2019, there was an opportunity to acquire an old quarry site from the San Leandro Rock Company. On September 10th, 2019, the board unanimously approved a 3-year option agreement with the San Leandro Rock Company to assess the viability of the site for our trench soils. A year and a half later, on March 9th, 2021, the board unanimously approved a contract to prepare an environmental impact report for the quarry project. In early 2021, staff met with the City of San Leandro, Alameda County, and the East Bay Regional Park District to discuss the project. Staff also held a public scoping meeting in early 2022. Postcards to inform the community of the meeting were sent to 1,900 residents near the project, posted on our website and Nextdoor, and emailed to 4,500 customers. We did not receive many concerns about the project until January 2023, when we presented the draft environmental impact report to the board. The project was opposed by Director Chan, who has shared with me that it was very difficult for her to oppose a project like this. Many residents in the neighborhood, the city, the county, and the Castro Valley MAC. In March 2023, at the request of Director Chan, the quarry project was discussed with the entire board. During the meeting, staff provided information on our current trench soil management practices and alternatives being considered. We also shared with the board that the quarry site owners were informed that the district would not renew its option agreement to purchase the site, and that we withdrew our conditional use permit with Alameda County. There was significant public comment at the meeting and a lengthy discussion among board members. A couple of motions were made by the board. The first, made by Director Chan, was to formally terminate and not include the quarry project as a potential trench soil site for the district. The motion did not pass with a majority of the board. A second motion was made by former Director Linney, directing staff to reevaluate the quarry project as part of a more comprehensive trench soils management project. Director Young further amended that motion that staff not move forward with the quarry project without authorization from the board. This motion also did not pass with a majority of the board. While there was no approved direction from the board, formal approved direction from the board, based on the discussion, I shared with the board that staff would put a pause on the quarry project and report back to the board in a year with our evaluation of other trench soil management options. In August 2024, staff presented to the Planning Committee information about our trench soils management program, including our pilot to direct haul our trench soils to beneficial reuse sites such as the Dunbarton Quarry, as part of the East Bay Regional Park District's work to restore the site, and other restoration projects that could use our soils. Since 2024, we have continued to direct haul our soil for beneficial reuse or used our temporary sites and then off-hauled the soil to other locations. So I hope this information provides background for the board members that were not on the board and they asked to get more information about these two items. And with that, I can take any questions.
I'd like to speak to both of these because these were both incidents that happened to me within probably the first 6 months of joining the board. And relative to the $279 million, I think I was probably only on the board for 3 months when someone came to me, and he was an employee of EBMUD, but he's also elected official, and said to me, April, we have some issues with financial mismanagement at EBMUD. And I said, and he gave me a letter. I took the letter and I gave it to our internal auditor to look at and to review, and he wrote a report. And the report to me was really kind of stunning. When I received it back, it had talked about the $279 million not being moved. And I'm not characterizing this as mismanagement. I just want to be clear. I'm just saying a lot of organizations can't move that much money without the board, without board approval. But since then, there has been a lot of discussion about really kind of what is the best way to inform the board about capital projects, money being moved. And so there were some things that changed. I appreciated that. I really did. And then we talked about, the quarterly report of money moved. And I think that it is best practice, and I think that my constituents expect us to, know what is happening with this money. And so that is, so that's what happened in that particular situation in the quarry project. My first day at EBMUD was January 10th, 2023. And that is the day that I was met outside with the Bayo Vista community, and what they had was a petition that 300 people had signed. I have to tell you, I didn't know about this project at that point. But that was kind of like probably the first half hour of me being at EBMUD. And so what I, and I really appreciate this too. I really appreciate we're not pursuing that project. You know, this is a project that was overwhelmingly unpopular, that everyone from Castro Valley, San Leandro had contacted me to say that they did not support the project. But it is a project that would have sent 100, that would have gone on to 40 to 60 years. Sometimes 60 to 100 trucks a day through this one neighborhood in San Leandro. This is something that I decided, if this project happens, I don't know how I'm gonna sleep at night. Because it is just, it's also along Lake Chabot Road, which is a very winding and narrow road. And I just felt that it was very unsafe. And so, yes, this is all stuff that happened, but, you know, I think to challenge bureaucracy the way that I have and the way I did within the first 6 months, I think a lot of times that is, that there's repercussions for that. You know, these were big things. These were things that made a lot of news within the first 6 months of my being in office. And so I think I need to leave it there. But I just want to explain a little bit more about those projects, about these instances from my perspective.
Thank you, General Manager Chan. And so I just was reviewing the June 18th Mercury News article that recently appeared. And in this article, Director Chan, you are quoted as saying, "Since becoming elected, I have challenged questionable financial practices, including large-scale funds being spent without board approval." And I think what we have heard here today is that indeed all the funds that were spent had board approval. So I'm just wondering if you still stand by your statement in this article, or if you would like to amend it in any way.
I stand by the report that I received from our internal auditor in the beginning of 2023.
Did that report say that these were?
And I really do not think that I should comment beyond that.
I don't think any of us have seen that.
Yes, so I'll just share with you very quickly. Sorry, Kat. So first, thank you, Director Chan, for your comments. All spending, like I said earlier, is approved by the board. Nothing was spent without the board approval. The internal auditor did look into this, did acknowledge that staff has the authority to move appropriations. Now, moving appropriations is different than spending money, but also the moving of the appropriations, even in the internal audit report, acknowledge that, again, staff has the authority. The board expressly grants in the resolution the authority for staff to move the appropriations, and then all spending, again, had to be approved by the board. So we did not spend any money without board approval, especially in those dollar amounts. It did talk about, which Director Chan addressed earlier, about the visibility, which even before this was raised was something that we wanted to create more visibility into the appropriations. And you have heard in the last budget cycle, in particular, additional changes that we've made where we have unallocated funds, and those unallocated funds will be moved to capital projects and reported on a quarterly basis to the board. And so those are the changes that have been made since.
General Manager, did I say that the funds, that staff spent funds that were not authorized? Because I don't believe I said that. I think what I said was that the public would like to know, I think my constituents would like to know about transfers of funds, particularly that large. So it wasn't a question of me saying that you spent unauthorized funds. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I'm just responding because I had a few board members ask me about the article in the Mercury News where you were quoted as saying that we spent funds that were not authorized by the board. So I don't know if you actually said that, if you were misquoted in the article. That's what the article said, and I was asked to provide clarification to the board today.
was basically asking for clarification as well, because it's, the article's right in front of me and it includes that quote. So if you needed to correct the quote, you might want to do
Well,
that.
I don't feel like I need to, I need to correct the quote, so.
And I want to say that it is the job of every board member to represent the interests and concerns of the people that they represent and the ward that they represent and the district as a whole. And I think, if you have not yet, you will at some point during your tenure need to raise something that is not, currently supported by everybody, that you have a difference of opinion. And that is our job. And it's not doing battle against the district. It is working to come out with a policy recommendation that meets our mission statement and meets the interests that the board has. I won't speak to the financial issue because I understand how we adopted the budget and what authorities we delegate to staff to make sure that our capital projects get done. But on the quarry project, we had a board member representing the area who supported it, who told us it was a great project. And clearly, when that appeared, that became not the case, and the group of neighbors and others came forward to object to the project, it was at Director Chan's leadership that did that, but the entire board voted to turn away from that project. We didn't agree on an outcome, but the general manager heard it loud and clear that we needed to look for another way to do this. And, the record can speak for itself. I made an amendment to a motion to make sure that the project would not go forward without board approval. It didn't go. Director Chan's motion didn't go, and yet staff undertook a 1-year process to come out with a solution that is amazing. And it'll help my ward because Orinda is currently getting all those soils and has been. And I work with them a lot to manage the mitigation of noise and traffic associated with that. And have been since the first year I was elected. So that once we have continued to find beneficial use projects and other things, I think we're going to have a best-in-class trench soils management program, thanks in large part to Kat and all of the neighbors around the quarry and to Director Chan for stepping up and doing that. And it does actually pain me that I'm being painted as retaliating against you because of that project, which I completely don't understand. So I shouldn't say more because it's part of the investigation, but this is what we do. We have to face difficult and challenging policy decisions. And is it your right to raise a money issue? Of course. Is it okay to be corrected? Should be. And I, for one, feel confident in the processes that we use to manage the billions of dollars that we manage, expect that the process that we have in place will handle that. But I respect and value the interests of board members who want to raise that more specifically. So, but I think we need to make sure that the record is straight when things end up in the news as being fact, when, we need to be factual in what we present.
I think it is factual to say that the funds were moved without authorization. That is factual.
I would agree that it is factual that the board did not approve the movement, but I also say what's probably, that's not a complete story. The board authorized staff to be able to move those appropriations. So we didn't go to the board for authorizations because we had the authority to do it.
Okay, I have two yes, Director Odie.
I just want to say I appreciate your leadership on the quarry project, so that was one of the first things you told me when I first met you, and you were rightfully proud of it, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, I have two public comments on agenda item number 13. Tuan No, you have 3 minutes.
I just want to appreciate April Chan for standing up for her constituents, for doing her job, and for looking into things that come up across her radar, whether that's engaging because somebody's asking about finance and that there should be a follow-up with an internal audit and what that says and how we can improve the process. Whether it's somebody parking in a restricted, dedicated parking spot. I think she's being engaged and doing her job, and we want people who represent us who are involved. I don't think there's anything wrong with merely asking questions, but this process with the shifting investigation really, really bothers me. First, you're saying that she's threatening, but she's the one that's actually threatened, and we don't see any support for her as a victim who's facing workplace violence, and that in the report met the definition of workplace violence. And in fact, you took premature action in punitive steps to replace her as vice president, to ask her not to read a proclamation honoring Asians during Asian Heritage Month, when she's the only elected Asian member. These are very specific facts. And the public is not fooled. We're engaged, educated leaders of our community who are involved. And for a shifting narrative to say, okay, well, maybe you didn't threaten, but maybe you're racist, or maybe you have misconduct elsewhere. This spinning story undermines your credibility, undermines EBMUD as an organization. And as a community and a leader in the community, I can say I cannot accept that. And I don't think I'm going to go away either. And the community is super alarmed. You insulted the whole Asian community when you silenced her voice. And for you not to acknowledge the violence, the actions you took, and to make these politicized narratives to cover up, it's not the crime, the mistaken crime, initial crime, it's the cover-up. And you will just give yourself more political rope to hang yourself on and dig yourself a deeper hole, and it's super unfortunate. Why would you persecute somebody who is a victim of violence and not acknowledge that? And to continue with the investigation that is tens of thousands of dollars. It doesn't make sense. It's not even about fighting over a parking spot. It's merely inquiry to a parking spot and de-escalating in multiple ways and showing good faith to even recusing herself. And you guys have morphed it into
Please wrap
something
up
that
your
shouldn't be.
comments. Thank you. Are there any other public comments on the item? Yes, oh, sorry, Kat. Yeah, this is on item 13, yes?
Yes. And I just want to direct my comments on item 13.
Thank you.
I wanted to point out what a great advocate April Chan was for us when we were opposed to the quarry project. And I wanted to point out that it's not just a few people. There were over 2,000 petitioners. We had the entire unanimous City Council of San Leandro opposed. The mayor was one of our spokespeople. In opposing it, it would have been devastating for our community. And for longer than I would be alive, we would be having these 60 to 100 trucks going through our community, and especially our small neighborhood up in the hillsides. So we really appreciated April, but she didn't just advocate, she actually looked for a solution. And we actually were able to meet with General Manager Chan, and he was able to explain to us what the process was with the extracted soil and asked for our solutions. And we're so fortunate that we have brilliant people in our community. I'm not one of them, they are, who suggested these alternative uses for the soil. And from that, I think you began looking at it closer and you came up with a pilot program. And we're very, very appreciative of that. And I think it was an environmental win-win for our neighborhood and also for EBMUD. I wanted to just close my comments by saying that April is the most responsible, principled public servant that I've ever had the honor to work with. And I'm dealing with a lot of them these days. Somehow I get involved with all our community issues and try to make our community better. She serves her constituents with integrity, professionalism, and a deep commitment, and she has our continued and loyal support. So thank you so much. And thank you, EBMUD, for the quarry project. And Marguerite, I did appreciate the when you made your motion at the time of that hearing, even though you didn't agree to just terminate the project, I did appreciate that you were looking that it would at least come back to the board for approval. So I wanted to give you that credit as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes item 13.
Finally, just at your places is the Speakers Bureau, and that's the end of my reports.
Okay. If there are any items for future consideration, we discussed one. I'll leave that to board members to decide whether they want to bring it forward. And item 15, director comments. If you haven't submitted your written comments or reports to the secretary, are there any verbal director comments or reports? Director Odie?
I'll just remind folks that tomorrow is the Bayside Community Meeting, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. There's a Zoom link on the website, correct?
Anyone else? I've got a couple. Valerie?
Yes, I just wanted to note that I had the opportunity to visit our Upper San Leandro Reservoir, our Central Reservoir, and, pardon? Oh, okay. I went somewhere, you guys. And the Piedmont Reservoir. So I spent a day and people watched me almost fall down, but nobody laughed. They were very good. But it was very interesting. I did ask, and I asked that people get back to me at some point if we could do something regarding the reflective roof, given how large that was. So I am waiting for that information. Thank you very much. And I also wanted to say one thing about working with groups and organizations, whoever agrees or disagrees. Just because somebody votes no or disagrees, it does not mean they don't like you. It doesn't mean they don't think you're smart or that you work hard. It means that based on what they understand at that point in time, that's the position that they take. And again, that's what we were elected to do. So please try to remember that. If somebody disagrees, they still like your dog.
I wasn't here at the end of last meeting, so I will say that that I attended the Cherry Festival and also the San Ramon Mayor's Conference.
Quick update, and an appreciation to staff. I recently participated in a field trip that took me to several open cut reservoirs in Danville, Piedmont, and Leland open cut reservoirs. And thank you so much. That was incredibly eye-opening. And I also participated and attended the Exchange Club in Danville on 6/11.
Director Smith?
It was a slow 2 weeks for me. I only had 2 events, but they were impactful. Attended the West County Forum, Sophia Skoda did a wonderful presentation for them. And I was approached in reference to concerns about hydrants within HOA property. So, working on that one. The other one was very impactful, not just for me, but also for our community. It seems that I'm the first director to participate on the boat when the young salmon and other fish are put into the bay
You got to do
in
that.
Richmond. Yes.
I'm jealous.
And the community was very welcoming to my presence. They were, I won't go say that they were geeking out, but they were very, very happy that I was there. Additionally, it was a great learning opportunity for me and for all the participants, but there were more adults present this year on the boat than it had. I mean, this was the third year that they've done it. And that was in direct connection to concerns of ICE. We had a nice, diverse group of people participating, and there were several parents who were like, I don't want my child to miss out on this, so they were present on the boat as well. Everyone got along, everyone had a good time, and I was the only one who got hit with a wave.
Lucky you.
Oh, that's great. A couple things. One, I wanted to, for everybody in the building, tomorrow's the closing of LGBTQ Pride Month at East Bay Mud, and we're having there's a potluck on the 4th floor, 12 to 1. I'll be there. I don't know who else is going to be there, but
Yep, I plan to be there.
I'm going to do my best to get there at noon. And then a number of us are participating in various 4th of July parades. I think 3 of us. Right about that, yeah. I'll be in Orinda, Director Odie will be in Alameda, and Director Gomez will be in Danville. So with that, Andy, unless you have some report?
No
Okay.
comments? Maybe.
With that, we are adjourned.